Contributing to Godot engine taught me that code must be very simple to use. While working with teams made of developers, artists, game designers, taught me that software must be very accessible to all of them. In this video we'll talk about the data-driven method, and I will use the two experiences that I just mentioned as a way to explain why I really think that the data-driven is fundamental in order to develop an high-quality game. So let's start. From the beginning of my career, I always been fascinated by code and programs that were extremely efficient, and for this reason when I was creating software, my priority was creating code that was extremely efficient, even when the result was a code that only I could use. But at some point I changed my mind, and that happened when I met Godot engine. I still remember it was a summer day. I just finished testing Torque 3D, a game engine that I was testing it for a study project. It was extremely hot outside, and while my computer breathing like a dragon, I searched on the web a game engine that was open source, and so I stumbled on a wiki page that mentioned Godot engine. This engine was open source, moderately used, with a very good documentation and written in C++. So I gave it a check. At first glance, the game engine seems perfect, and after some days I recognized that the game engine was extremely simple. Adding functionalities as module didn't require a lot of time, and was there that I realized for the first time the importance of simplicity. However, this observation wasn't enough to change my mind. But the more I used Godot, the more I was realizing that the community were able to add functionalities to Godot super easy, even the most complex functionalities. And this was growing the Godot functionalities like crazy. Godot was used to make game, app, and even to create some other engines based on Godot. And here I realized something extremely important. The easier the software is, the more developers can add functionalities that are very sophisticated, increasing the possibility to innovate the video games. And that changed my mind. And from that moment on, for me, simplicity and performance were at the same level of priority when making software. However, the term simple is relative. Think about this. Something that is easy for a programmer is most likely impossible to use for an artist or a game designer. But why this matters? Let's do one step back to explain why it matters. In the past, I had two experiences that were one the opposite of the other. On the first one, I worked on a team full of programmers that had the responsibility to implement the functionalities as the game design and gameplay. While on the second one, I worked on a team where we had game designers taking the responsibility to use the functionality developed by the programmers to create the gameplay. A day while working on the first project and while I was testing the functionalities I just finished, I realized that the gameplay was a disaster. The various functionalities that were the result of many programmers implementing them alone did not work together. While on the second experience, my job was adding functionalities that then the game designers should have used in the future. However, at some point, I tried the game and I was amazed about the result of what the game designer achieved by using the functionalities added by us, the developer. Everything worked together, the game was there, and it was very cool to see. However, I noticed something else as well. I realized that the game designers combined the work of the entire team. So for example, they took the functionalities implemented by the developers to implement the gameplay, and then they used everything the artistic team provided, like VFXs, sounds, models, animations, in order to make that pretty. In other words, in that way, the entire team contributed to the realization of the final result, and that was possible only thanks to the tooling that we implemented. And was there that I realized something very important as well. Game designers create video games, not the developers. It's then extremely important to value any role on a team if you want to make a very good game, and that the team must work as one. The tooling that we had were based on the concept of data-driven, and that allowed us to work as a united team. Even if you are not familiar with the concept or the term data-driven, I reassure you that you have used this type of tool for sure, because guess what? Any game engine has some sort of data-driven as functionalities. By data-driven, we mean a software that has a series of functionalities, the function that taken alone doesn't do much. However, when you organize them in a sort of structure, they are able to move a character, reproduce a sound, and then create a game. The structure organization is stored usually in a file, and this file is loaded at runtime when you launch the game in order to reproduce the gameplay functionalities. And in my opinion, not every data-driven tool allow a team to work as one. For example, I consider that all the scripting languages like GTScript for Godot or Blueprint for Unreal can be considered data-driven, but they are terrible to make a team to work as one, because any person on the team should be able to add the game functionalities without the help from a programmer. The tooling interface is the most important thing, and exactly like Godot does, is necessary to make that interface as easy and accessible as possible, allowing more and more people of the team to integrate very sophisticated functionalities, making it more likely to innovate with the game you are making. Let me know what you think about by leaving a comment below or join our Discord community. See you on the next one. Have fun!